Greetings and felicitations.
Hip, hip, hurrah, tally-ho.
Here's my little cutie pie. We've been watching Discovery together.
We sure have, Puddin'.
All right, let's talk about this next episode of Season 1. Lethe.
I love it. Love the episode and love the title.
Okay, let's talk about the title.
It comes from Greek mythology. Lethe was the name of a river in the underworld of Hades, and it's also the Greek spirit of forgetfulness with whom the river is identified. So we do see how it fits into the episode with Sarek, and he almost died, and he's remembering this incident that he felt guilty about, keeping Michael Burnham out of the Vulcan Expeditionary Group.
And this is not the first time we've heard the term Lethe in Star Trek. Remember in Dagger of the Mind, there was a character named Lethe?
Yes, so maybe the episode was named after her. Do you think?
Could be.
It could be. She was someone who probably her mind had been erased.
That was the connection that
yes.
we discussed in an episode breakdown there, sure. So, I like the reference.
Yes, I mean, I love when they use titles from Greek mythology.
Mm-hmm. So what'd you like about this episode? A lot of action.
Yes. Now the big thing about it, of course, was Sarek and how it filled in something from the old episode Journey to Babel. So the Vulcans wanted, like they said, the guy that Sarek was talking to, right, the other Vulcan, said he could only allow either Michael Burnham or Spock into the Vulcan Expeditionary Group, but not both. And so he made Sarek choose, which Sarek did not want to do. And you could tell he was...
What parent would ever want to do that?
Yes, he was visibly angry about it. So he...
Which is not very Vulcan-like, to be visibly angry.
I know. And he made the conscious decision to not let Michael in. And then when Spock, and of course it was mentioned in this episode, but we do know that later Spock chose not to join. No, it was called the Vulcan Science Academy. I guess they changed their name, like in the time of Discovery, it was the Expeditionary Group. In the time of Journey,
if you're trying to wedge this in to original series prime timeline, you're going to be frustrated.
There are some things that don't match up.
I just have it in my mind that this is an alternate timeline. So if it's an alternate timeline, it makes sense.
Okay, but the Vulcan Science Academy, they could have changed the name. Schools do change their names.
Okay.
But it does fit in with canon and insofar as what we're saying. It does explain why Sarek didn't speak to Spock. Sarek and Spock didn't speak as father and son for 18 years at the time of Journey to Babel. Because Spock decided not to join the Vulcan Science Academy, but to join Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
So it adds another layer of knowledge to it and it actually makes sense. That Sarek would be so angry. Now we know why Sarek was so angry at Spock for turning down the Vulcan Science Academy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
Because he made a decision that if he had just said, okay, let Michael do it, then, Spock didn't want it anyway. That's fine. But yeah, so if we were to say that Discovery is in prime timeline, then Sarek would be frustrated.
So it explains a lot because Sarek, Sarek has been called the worst father ever for some reasons like this. I mean, not only did he get angry at Spock, but looking back, so on this episode with Burnham, she just found out a bit about this, and she said to Sarek, "You let me think that they didn't want me, but that wasn't the case," and Sarek tried to defend himself, but he didn't have a leg to stand on. So that was sad. I mean, he had to make a hard decision as a parent and made Michael feel bad, which we understand. So both characters were sympathetic here.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved the scenes with Michael Burnham going in and out of the mind realm.
Yes, she was in Sarek's head because he was going through this. He had already mind melded with her, and it kind of left a permanent mind touch between the two of them. And we know that Sarek never mind melded with Spock. That was something that was said before on The Next Generation. So, so Sarek did mind meld with Burnham, and they had some kind of a lasting mind meld. They said it was something like the Katra actually remained, so that they could still stay in touch mentally. And it could reach over a large distance, we're seeing in this, which we also saw in Star Trek 3 when McCoy had the Katra. It lasted over a long distance as well. So yeah, this was beautifully done, and what we found out about Sarek's family and everything. But going back to those visions that Michael had, being able to be in Sarek's mind, and he could see her, and he was fighting her off. What are you doing here? You don't belong here. And they were in physical fights in this mind meld.
Yes. Did you like Amanda Grayson appearing?
Yes, I always like to see Amanda. And you know, the actress that plays her, Mia Kirshner, I think she actually does look like Jane Wyatt. I think they
did a good job of casting with this one.
Yes, I can picture her being... being a younger Jane Wyatt.
Yes.
Now, it's harder with James Frain as Sarek. He doesn't look as much like Mark Leonard, but I think
he plays the part well.
He does play the part well. And we saw him. We got to speak to him at a con. He's a cool guy and everything.
And he's a fan.
He is,
which is really cool. That he actually went to a Star Wars panel with us as well. He went into the panel as a fan.
Because he loves Star Wars.
Yes. I mean, I think that's fun when you have celebrities take a break from their table because they want to be involved in a convention. Like, to me, that is just so cool.
It was great to see him there, and he actually took the time to speak to us and everything.
And he talked about Gotham.
Yes, because he was on Gotham, and I also like his other work too, Gotham, and also he was on Elementary. He played a villain, and he was also on the old show The Tudors. I saw him on there, and I didn't even know who he was then, but yeah, he's done a lot of work.
And we got to spend quite a bit of talk time with him, and especially with Gotham. He said, like, who doesn't like Batman? This is like a dream come true to work on Gotham. I mean, like, he's a real nerd in real life.
Wasn't he also a collector of his comic books and action figures or something he spoke to you about?
I love it. I absolutely love it when we meet some celebrities. Look, we get it that a lot of celebrities, it's a job. That's it. And they don't care. And they just play their part well. And that's all right. But when you have those that have grew up with the things that we grew up with and really adore it, that just makes it extra special. So when I rewatch the things with James Frain, I just say this guy's a great person as well as a fantastic actor.
Absolutely. And so yes, so what did you think about Amanda?
I think she played the part well.
Yes, she was.
Totally. And I love the fact that she viewed both her and Spock as her children. And when you have a blended family like that, it's so important to see that. And I love it.
She is the mother who seems to keep the family together, and we'll see that later too. But you can see it here. She stood up for Michael.
Yes.
She loves Michael. I mean yes, it's her daughter. I mean you have to view it that way.
And what a complicated family. You have a son of two, like in our modern world it would be two ethnicities, but this is two really different races.
Exactly.
Right? You have Vulcan,
yes.
and she wanted him to remember his humanity, and now you have Michael coming into the picture, and she was in a Vulcan environment. She's going to assimilate to being like a Vulcan, but she wanted Michael to not forget her humanity as well. So it's so different being a mother having children that are literally from different worlds.
And she seems to know how to handle it. The thing is, it's a dysfunctional family, and Amanda is the most level-headed one, really. She's really the most logical one when you think about it.
And in TOS she was. James Wyatt played a wonderful part in TOS.
She was great, yeah. So the thing is, Jane Wyatt, you don't see her as much, I don't know, she was almost a little too doting to me in Journey, and then when they used her later in the movies, she had practically no function. I mean, well, she kind of helped Spock a little, but he carried on later because the original Star Trek has always been more about Spock and his father than it has about Spock and his mother.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great that we get to have Discovery and have Amanda in a bigger role, and we see how much she did for her family, how much she cared about everyone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What did you think about the introduction of Ash Tyler on the crew?
And I am so glad he has integrated into the crew. So he just had come off of a Klingon ship. So yeah, you would think he would have PTSD, which they do show later. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're watching this and we're talking about something we already know what's going to happen later in the series,
because we're going back over this because we started recording our thoughts of Discovery starting with season 2. So we said, hey, let's catch up and record our thoughts of all the episodes. So yeah, when we first went into this, we didn't know what would happen. Obviously, no one did. But we were curious of like, wow, why didn't he want to show Captain Lorca that he was a great marksman? Why would he back down and say, "Oh, Captain, you're a better marksman than me"? I liked how Captain Lorca said, "You need to be better."
Yes, that was strange. I guess that's because Tyler just doesn't know Lorca very well at this point, so he was scared to be better at something than his captain. So it was great to see that his captain is like, hey, I'm glad you're good at this. And actually, we don't know that Lorca wasn't really holding back either.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
But that was a good scene. So Lorca found out and was like, okay, you're in a good place. I want you to be better than me. And I do like how Tyler contributed again to the vision thing with Sarek. When Michael was afraid, like saying that, so Sarek is dying and he's thinking about how he's thinking about me. Oh, because Michael was thinking like, well, I failed my father, and that's what he's thinking about. And Tyler's the one who said, I've been close to death before, and you don't think about who failed you. You think about who you failed. You think about all the things that you did wrong when you're close to death. Mm-hmm. So it was great that Tyler has the experience, which we've already seen, that we know that he could contribute this knowledge and help Michael in that part with her father.
Yes. We did get some more annoying scenes from Tilly. I really wish that Ripper destroyed Tilly instead of Rika Sharma, because I like Rika Sharma, but if we lost Rika Sharma, we wouldn't have Ash Tyler.
Okay. Well, that's a strange way to look at it. No, well, I mean, the thing is, when they had Landry's character, Rika Sharma's character, I mean, I didn't really like her, but then maybe she would have rounded out better if they had kept her. Of course, we know we're going to see her in the Mirror Universe, but yeah, but for that version, to be honest, it was like Landry was not a good character of what we saw of her, so I was kind of glad they got rid of her. Now with Tilly, Tilly is still annoying at this point. Yeah, she's the one who talks a lot and doesn't say
just
much.
Shut up.
But she's and it's so surprising. Like, she wants to be a captain. Right now, you're going, does she look like Captain material? But then, of course, we don't know what a lot of our favorite captains were like when they were younger. But you're right now. You're just looking at her and thinking she's just the annoying younger character. But hey, somebody's got to be the youngest one and everything.
I guess so. She's like the Wesley Crusher of this show. Another one where I just want to say, "Oh, shut up, Wesley."
Well, Wesley didn't just babble on and on the way Tilly does.
He's annoying. He's annoying in a different way. Yeah. Okay, what did you think about the idea of Vulcan extremists that we first were introduced to in Star Trek Enterprise?
Yeah, so they bring out these things like, okay, not all Vulcans are like Spock. They're not all logical and
just like anyone else. Not anyone of any race or country or anything is all the same. We have such a limited view of Vulcans because of Tuvok and Spock and a handful of others. We did see a little bit of difference in
like Cybok.
Cybok, yes.
Yeah, so we did. Yeah, Vulcans can be different. But the thing is, what we saw in this episode though with Sarek and the leader of the expeditionary group is that Vulcans are they are racist. They are very like racial supremacist. They really think their race is better than everyone else. So now we have this Vulcan extremist group, and they think that Vulcans are better than humans, should not associate with humans, should not be in Starfleet. And and we saw groups like that on Enterprise. So it's a splinter group. But yeah, these logical people, I mean, what's logical to you might not be logical to me. That's the idea I think they're trying to convey here. Just because they're logical, well, logic can actually go in different directions, just like emotions can.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so we're seeing things, we're actually having more compassion for Michael Burnham at this point, because we're thinking, wow, you went through this tragedy with losing your parents violently, so now you've got to switch over to a new family on another planet where you're extremely different on every level, and now you have people hating you and wanting to cause violence to you. So we're having more compassion with Michael's traumatic background.
Yes. I mean, to be hated just because of the way you were born and you can't do anything about it, that's tough. And we've been there. We've all been there. Of course.
There. So I just think this is, again, this reinforces Star Trek's, it shows how this mentality of racism, hating people just for the sake of where they were born or what they look like, it's a horrible thing. So, I mean, it's an ugly thing. And it's showing things from Michael Burnham's perspective. So a lot of things about this episode were fantastic.
Yes, a lot of things. So I just want to mention, because someone else had this idea, Sarek's injury in this episode could have been what contributed to the heart problem he had later in Journey to Babel.
Oh.
It's just a thought. Like they could have mentioned it, but I don't think anyone had anyone else thought of it. And the idea, this was the first episode where we saw the disco T-shirts, which everyone laughed at.
Exactly. But as soon as they came out, we bought it.
I mean, it's neat to have that T-shirt. I mean, that was a great idea because that's something that people want to buy.
It was. And you remember the first Dragon Con where we wore it and like a whole bunch of people were wearing it? And people were saying, is there a disco going on? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, that's so funny.
If you're not a Star Trek fan, you didn't understand the reference.
But someone else had the idea, like, okay, I mean, you know how there's a meme of Captain Kirk now wearing that T-shirt and it says "Enter."
Yes.
In relation to Disco for Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
But what if instead of "Enter," the people on Enterprise had a shirt that said "Prize," P-R-I-S-E. That might also be that you could like almost make it feasible.
How about Deep Space Nine? Just be deep.
Yeah, for Deep Space Nine it would be harder. I still, for Deep Space Nine, their thing was doing the Niners baseball jersey, which was awesome.
Makes sense. Yep.
But how about this for Voyager? Their shirt could say V'ger.
Okay.
When you think about it, because V'ger was short for Voyager, even though it had nothing to do with the USS Voyager.
Okay.
Now and for Deep Space Nine, instead of the space station, how about for Defiant? Have a shirt that says Defy, D-E-F-I.
Oh, how about the Reliant? Rely.
Yeah, rely.
How far are we going to go with this?
Yeah, I know it's just like all these crazy ideas you can come up with. But Disco for Discovery is like that's very fitting, isn't it?
I love it.
That one
I
we
actually
love.
like it a lot. It's pretty cool.
And because you can call it Disco, like instead of saying Star Trek Discovery, we call it Disco for short.
Yeah.
And it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. Relationship with Admiral Cornwell, with Lorca in this episode, what'd you think about it?
Yeah, that was an interesting turn, too, because I don't think we've seen this kind of thing, a captain and an admiral together. And actually knowing they had this relationship. I've never seen it on screen
and nailing each other? No.
Well, okay. Of course, now we know on lower decks that the captain's married to an admiral, but they're married.
Yes.
Or at least we think they're married.
And
right?
at the time, we didn't know that those triangle burns on the back were the agonizer burns, but I like that.
Yeah, she saw that scar, and that's something that ties into something later. So you know that, well, of course, and we know now that they had already planned on some of these things that were going to happen later. So she is actually a psychiatrist. And so she knew that, like, after he pulled that phaser on her, she was like, oh, so you're really not cured. You do still have PTSD. And she knew that it was dangerous for him to still be in command of a ship. So wasn't it interesting that she got captured by the Klingons in the end?
Good episode.
I mean, a lucky turn for him, but not lucky, but lucky because now he gets to keep his command because she's the only one who knows.
Yes. Yeah. Good point. But I don't understand, going back to the disco shirts. You know, we're halfway through the season now, and that's very little merchandise was available at the time. And still at this time, we're at the dawn of season 3, and they're not opening the floodgates on merchandise. I don't get it.
There
I'll buy more.
Stuff.
I'll buy some stuff if they make it.
I think they have made pops, haven't they?
Pops are everywhere. You can't get away from that. But yep, great episode. I enjoyed it.
This was one of the best. Yes,
it's a good one.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and join our Facebook group. Live long, and may the Force be with you. Nanu Nanu.